go. Pop out the chat as per usual. There we go. Now I can see everybody. All right. Lots of stuff to talk about today. Let's see who pops in. This is early in the morning for me. It's about 6 a.m. So if I look a bit bleary-eyed, it's because I've been up all night writing and stuff. And it's a bit of an experiment to see who actually will pop in at like midday over in the States. Hey, Lord Nargle. How's it going? Hey, Bubs. Yep, I'm all good. I know the thumbnail's a little bit dramatic, but I've got dramatic news in case anybody hasn't heard it already. Hey, Chase. Hey, William. Oh, good. I'm glad to hear it. Hey, George. George Costanza. I like it. Hey, Lucas. I got you. That's good enough for me. Okay, so let's jump into it. First of all, yeah, all's well. So in case you haven't heard about it this so far, and it's kind of like just shocking news. Good morning, Needle. Diamond Comics Distributors is a company that handles, I think, pretty much all of Paizo, so Pathfinder and Starfinder, their stock. So what happens is the companies that print the books send all the stock to Diamond Distributors. They send it to the mum and dad stores, the brick and mortar stores everywhere and various other places. And then those stores sell that stock on behalf of the manufacturers, and they get their little cut of retail prices. And Diamond Distributors gets their little cut, and then whatever is left goes back to the original people who have sent the stock in the first place. The general understanding is that the people who publish the books own the books, and Diamond Distributors is just taking a cut of it transferring through them elsewhere. However, this is the situation. Diamond Comics Distributors, as has been predicted by Magic the Gathering industry watchers mostly, is in dire straits, as are a number of other distribution companies. Basically, they're going bankrupt, and Chase, which is a big bank over in America, as I understand it, is basically demanding that they get money, as much money as possible, to their creditors who they owe money for. Now, here's the horrible situation, and how it got this way in the first place it beggars belief. So there is a document which apparently is quite involved to read through and go through the system. But essentially, if the person who has made the stock, so Paizo, have produced their new Starfinder manual, so it's a major release for Paizo, and they have 50,000 copies of it going off to Diamond Distributors. But because they haven't signed a little document that says, we definitely own this product, there is a legal precedent over in the States that Diamond Distributors have now gone, okay, we're going to claim that stock as our own, and we're going to sell it off at bargain basement prices to recoup as much money so that we can pay our creditors as we go bankrupt. So essentially, and I can't stress this enough, this is legally condoned theft that is taking place. It has precedent, which means that if they even take them to court and say, no, this is insane, that's ours, they don't own it, because they haven't signed that document, and a lot of companies don't sign this document because I guess it's just kind of like common sense that they own it. But because they haven't signed that, they essentially get thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars of their stock. And for, I don't care how big the publishing company is, this really, really hurts, right? So this could possibly really, really damage Paizo, put them out of business potentially, certainly put a damper on any of their plans for, other things, because this is a huge loss. And many other RPG companies and comics companies and things like that. Wizards of the Coast only has a partial distribution through Diamond Comics Distributors, so they won't lose out as much, but they're still getting hit with this as well. So, all of the stock and stuff that they have sitting there, ready to go off to stores and things could potentially go into bargain bins at other franchises and things, which could give the impression that the Pathfinder game has not sold well, is not popular, which is absolutely not true. So it's not only outright theft, it's damaging the reputation of those companies as well. This is horrible, and it's a situation which I think everybody should be really, really angry about, because it's not fair. It's just insane. And this was also really, really damaging on a broader, big picture. Like me living in New Zealand, it absolutely discourages me from doing any business as a publisher in the States, going through any third party to deliver goods and stuff like that. If I manufacture the Super Atomic and rely on some distributor in the States to get it to everybody, no way am I going to do that now, because they could just steal everything. That's crazy. It's crazy. So it's like, yeah, okay, tariffs and things are one thing, but outright stealing products legally, that's insane. And nobody in their right mind would want to do business with America if that's the situation going on over there. And it's shocking. It's just shocking. I'm shocked. I'm sure you're shocked too if you haven't heard about this. But yeah, that's the situation. So this could set fire to some major players in the role-playing industry, and hurt everybody, because those big companies like Paizo and Wizards of the Coast, they are the tide that floats the industry in general. Like, they get those products out on shelves and stuff so that our hobby is visible to everyone. And yeah, this is really, really, really bad. So I thought I would just mention that out front, because it is big news. Like, I'm not a drama channel, but that is dramatically going to change things. Not only that, we're also seeing a big shake-up where a lot of talent has just left Wizard of the Coast. So, Chris Perkins and Jeremy Crawford have gone over to Darrington Press. So they're going to be creating new games there. I'm excited to see what happens there. And yeah, I'm in the midst of getting the final touches. So Super Atomic is just going through art layout and stuff at the moment. We're configuring everything for printing. We've already lined up the printing companies and stuff like that are going to be working. So we've got an agent on the ground in China who is working directly with the manufacturers and stuff. So I get all of that straight. Having somebody on the ground there that I've worked with. This is Emily Fu at D&D WoW. So you'll be familiar with me working with her, because we developed and manufactured and delivered the silicone battle mats to everybody without a hitch. So we know what we're doing in that regard. I'm also developing an app for the game. That's kind of in my court. So I've made a mock-up of the app using AI just as a template, so that I can hand it off to people who are professional app artists, you could say, to fine-tune and get rid of all the bugs and stuff like that. So that's a deliverable reward for people who back the Kickstarter. Now, the book is done, right? So my intention has always been to release the PDF version of the book absolutely free for everyone. I will never charge any money for it, because I want everybody to play it. And the reason why I made this game in the first place is after, this was spurred on 2 years ago by the OGL crisis and, Wizards of the Coast turning evil. And me just saying, screw the corporates. We can do this without, charging everybody an arm and a leg. So really the Kickstarter is just to fund anybody who wants a print copy of the book and the app, and t-shirt if you want to back those. Possibly a reward tier where you could join me in South America at a role-playing resort in the jungle, where I'll run 6 days worth of games for you, playing a Chult campaign or something like that in this really cool venue. That's a possibility as well, just tentatively. But yeah, if the Kickstarter goes really well, there's an option for like an exclusive tier thingy for people who can afford that sort of thing and want to go on an adventure holiday and have me run games for them in an awesome location. So that's a real possibility. I've already talked with the people who organize that. Yeah, and of course, the open gaming license for Super Atomic will be basically an attribution license. So anybody will be able to make whatever source books and products derived from the Super Atomic that they want. They'll be able to earn money on it if they want to, as long as they attribute me as the creator of the game. That's a common Creative Commons license. It's just standard. There's like 3 different types of, or 4 different templates of license they have. that one's basically the most fair and equitable to everybody who wants to support the game and get some reward for their work. I've got no problem with that whatsoever. None. Yeah, so Dave is doing the layout. I'm doing the working on the promotion and stuff like that. And there was a huge thing that happened last night. So D&D Shorts, who just put out a fantastic video, which is the history of the Forgotten Realms explained in 11 minutes, which is very much like the history of the world animation. It's really funny. And I basically made a comment that nobody come at me just, asking me how accurate this is. It's a hilarious video. And it'll reach such a huge audience that it will bring more people into the hobby. So who cares? It's fun and it's awesome. He saw the comment and reached out to me, and we started talking. And then he gave me some stuff that he's working on, and I basically just went and did my thing. And in 20 minutes or so, I said, "Oh yeah, you need this and this and this." So essentially, I'm on board as his guy in the chair, fact checker. I'm a sage. I'm an industry consultant. This is what I do for a living, so it's relatively easy for me. And it just means that when he delivers those videos and things, that I'm just double checking that he doesn't miss things and things like that, because what he's doing is really awesome. He's got an awesome animator. He's really, really funny, and I'm just there to basically double check and yep, that's right, that's hilarious. Oh, by the way, this is also something that you can put in there that's hilarious too. Just adding my 2 cents and stuff, just as a working relationship favor collab thing. And in return, he has enormous amounts of experience with promotion and running Kickstarters and things like that. And he'll be able to help me plan the promotion of the Kickstarter so that it basically gets the best sort of launch that it can. Because I want to make sure that everything's right and ready before I launch. So the game is done. I've lined up the manufacturing, delivery, and all that sort of stuff. I can work that out quite accurately. And as from my last Kickstarter with the silicone battle mats, we handled deliberately the manufacture and delivery in just a couple of months. So yeah, it's a very different kettle of fish from running a Kickstarter before you've written a game book. It's all done. It's ready to go. And yeah, essentially, so through those sort of relationships, everybody benefits, I think. So it's just a really healthy sort of thing. Also, he's a great guy. He's got a great channel. Like 50% of what he earns on YouTube is donated to charity. If that doesn't say a whole lot about his character, I don't know what does. So yeah, we just clicked straight away because we're kind of like-minded in that regard. All right. Sorry, comments. Yeah, very wonky. Oh, it's probably because it's a directional mic. So if I move around, my volume will change. No, I can't show the app mockup. It's on my Discord server at the moment. So if you're on my Discord, you'll be able to pop in, and I think there's a link to it there. But it's really just a mockup. It's buggy and stuff. So, but you can make a character and see what the basics of it are. But it doesn't have any of the details and things in there. Hey, Stormer. Hey, Garth. You're not that late. Don't worry. Do a Lemmy from Motorhead cosplay? What, because of the moustache? I'm honored. Thank you. Would you do PDF for Super Atomic? Yes, it's going to be a free PDF, so everybody will be able to download it and play it for free. Absolutely free. Not a pay what you want or anything. I'll literally be just giving away. Because I believe in, if you walk into a store, you pick up a book and you read through it before you decide to buy it. I don't think that Kickstarters should be any different from that. And yeah, I don't really believe in charging for a PDF because it's just going to be pirated anyway. So that's pirating is just free distribution. As far as I'm concerned, I kind of agree with that sentiment. That it's kind of ridiculous charging for that. So anybody that gets a print copy of the book gets the PDF, of course, because everybody does. And so yeah, I do believe that if you have the product, let people see it and play test it and put it through its paces before they decide to invest in the book. And yeah, there you go. An ammo field manual for D&D? Is the audio that choppy? Really? Yeah, it is kind of, yeah, that the black hole section from the video is kind of Kurt Gazati. I'm just going to move my microphone so it's right in front of me. Yeah, I did have somebody. Oh, okay. You can basically hear what I'm saying though, right? I don't know why it's doing that. Might be there is some weather going on, but it's not that bad. No, the microphone to the it's the mic set to as it normally is. It might just be the position. I don't know. Anyway, so the with the team involved in making Superatomic, we are collectively Monolith Publishing. So this is us establishing, this is our red box set essentially. That's why I want everybody to see the system and run it and live stream it and stuff like that. It's designed so that there's zero barriers to entry. So you can literally pick up this book and in 2 minutes and 25 seconds you will have a character rolled up and ready to go. With the app, it's literally just selecting options and hitting a button and a character is generated for you. Because the entire game is the entire book is all random roll tables, so it's relatively easy to make a character generator like that. The host section of the book is also all random roll tables and stuff, just designed to inspire things to get your inspiration going. It doesn't map out the entire adventure for you. It just gives you options to inspire you, because you just look at it and you go, I like that. I don't like that. Why don't I like that? What do I want instead? It's just like, throwing up inspirational input. And the Supers games are so freewheeling and crazy that they don't really lend themselves very well to game systems. Game systems are a legacy of 1970s wargaming mechanics that have been dragging role-playing games down and slowing them down for a long time. I know a lot of people are very married to optimizing characters and all that sort of stuff, but really they must realize that role playing is mostly just a creative cooperative storytelling endeavor, and a supers game, you really need to be able to handle anything in a supers game. So I have a lot of expansions planned for the future for Superatomic, but also as soon as Superatomic is done and dusted and does well, I'm going to be producing Atomic Fantasy. So the same sort of system applied to a Dungeons and Dragons style game. So that'll be exciting. These are not designed to be D&D killers or the next big thing. It's just a game that anybody can approach the hobby through, because there's no necessity to learn the rule system or read through a big book or anything. You can literally just jump in, having never played a role-playing game before, and be up and running a role-playing game in minutes. No need for a session zero, no need for preparing or anything like that. You just roll some tables, make a character, go, okay, I got the idea, and then just jump into having fun. That's the entire point. So that's another reason why the PDF will be free, because that's paying something to get it is a barrier to entry. So yeah, but a lot of people love books, and I love books, so I want to make a book. The book itself is not going to be a hardcover. I think it's going to be around 110, 115, something divisible by 4. It's going to be a perfect bound softcover book, which means that the pages are stitched and then glued onto a card cover, kind of like, and this is just proving the test of time. This is my original Heroes Unlimited book from Palladium Books. I got this back in the early 90s, and it is in absolutely perfect condition still. So, fantastic. And it was controversial when Palladium Books did that. They everybody was doing hardcover books, and they still do hardcover books, but hardcover books fall apart with the amount of use that that role-playing books get. Stuff spilled on them and things. They get roughed up pretty badly, particularly around the spine of the book and the corners. And yeah, proof right there that the perfect bound softcover is a fantastic way to do it. Not only that, but in the margins of the book pages are polyhedral dice with random number assortments. So you literally don't even need dice to play the game. If you've got the book, you can just flip the pages, and also the app has got a dice roller in it as well. So you can literally just play the game on your phone. Yeah, so anybody who's got the app can play the game. And if you're, say, in prison, for instance, you've got a role-playing game that you can put onto your mobile device, or you've got a book which has got the dice on the pages. Yeah, so it's just optimized for access. And my plan is to use any funds and things that that we generate through book sales and T-shirts and the app and stuff to fund getting the book translated into as many languages as possible and distributed to as many countries as possible, including India and China, which I think particularly India is just poised, ready for role-playing games, somebody to break into the market. And I'm happy to do so if nobody else is going to capitalize on it. So yeah, that's the big grand scheme. Hey, thanks, Garth. AJ, please give me the marketing talk to convince that Superatomic brings something Cypher System doesn't. Yeah, so Cypher System, you still have to learn the rules, right? So if you've got a brand new person who wants to jump into the game, they still have to sit down and learn the rules before they can even start playing. Or if their character gets killed off or something like that, they have to go through the process of building a character, which can take 20, 30 minutes or so. With Superatomic, you can literally just bring somebody in who's interested in the game, say, sit down, roll this dice, roll this dice, roll this dice, copy paste, or, hit the app. There's your character ready to go. They don't need to learn any rules. They can just jump straight in. The rules consist of one page, and it's absolute dice rolls, which means that when you roll a d20 and you roll a 10, it tells you exactly what the result is. There's no modifiers and things like that. All the rest of it is just handled through role-playing. And yeah, there are a huge number of options in the game book because it's not filled up with all the rules mechanics and stuff. So you've got 163 major powers, 375 lesser powers, 295 mutations, 200 power origins, 100 different character backgrounds, special training options, and that's just the players section. That is already more than any existing Supers role-playing game has in it, hands down. You even like Heroes Unlimited, you need multiple source books to even approach that number of options. So yeah. Yeah, and then, of course, expansions will be introducing cybernetics, robotics, psionics, magic, interdimensional travel, time travel, aliens, alien species, the whole thing. So, yeah, it's going to be kick-ass. I'm really looking forward to it. Yeah, and of course, yeah, the other thing to mention is that it's illustrated by me and Dave, the writers of the book. So, yeah, the illustrations and stuff in there are from me. And him. So that's one of the reasons why the layout and artwork side of it has taken a long time, because do you know how many illustrations are in a role-playing game book? A lot. But it's definitely got, because it's all like black and white line art and stuff, it's all black and white on the interior, color on the cover. It's got a really vintage 90s vibe to it, like early role-playing games, because I was inspired by playing Supers games from Palladium Books and stuff at the time, and Mutants and Masterminds and various others. Yeah, but I spent 2 years, at least a solid year, researching every Supers game that I could find, because I was looking for just the right sort of thing. And then really what sort of cinched it was sticking to that motto of no barriers to entry. Anyway, what's the other thing I was going to talk about? Oh yeah, a discussion recently on what is the Seelie and Unseelie Court? Well, so the Feywild is a subjective realm that is influenced by mortal stories. So those stories, much like belief makes things happen in the outer planes, and you can change gods and things just by everybody believing differently. Stories and fairy tales and narratives are like the laws of physics of the Fey realm. So it's not a matter of whether a Fey creature is good or evil in and of themselves. Sometimes the story just makes them that way. So they're assigned to be a bad guy by the story, when they might not necessarily be that way naturally. Or they're just pretty or ugly types of Fey. And that's really what the division of the Seelie and Unseelie courts are all about, when you get right down to the nuts and bolts of it. The Seelie court is not always good. and the Unseelie Court is not always bad. Likewise, they're not always hideous, and they're not always beautiful. They're really dictated by the stories, and they're kind of almost like political groups more than an alignment scale. So yeah, because the Fae have very different attitudes towards things. They're locked into story and that sort of thing. Perfect example is the Goblin King Jared from Labyrinth. He's as much trapped by the story as Sarah is, and she has, and he sort of admits at the end of it, you always had the power to just like end the story or say the words and that's it, I'm out. But because you opened the book, because you started reading the story, by your sort of agreement through this object, being connected to the Feywild, you got drawn into my realm, and I had to go through this story. I had to give you the time limit. I had to threaten to turn your brother into a goblin. That's what all these goblins are here for. I've been stuck doing this for an untold millennia of time, as long as the story has existed. And I'm trapped by it as inexorably as you're trapped by the laws of gravity. I can't get out of this, please. Yeah. So that's really encapsulates what's the Feywild is all about. They're trapped by story. Hey, thanks, Morgan. Yeah, Harry Dresden. Yeah. That's all good, Shakespeare. I was just talking about the Diamond Distributor disaster right at the start of the live stream. Okay. Oh, yeah, Super Atomic is going to have an, what do you call it, Creative Commons license where essentially you can create products based on it and sell them and make money for them as long as you attribute me as the creator of Super Atomic. As simple as that. I've got no problem with people making derivative products and things like that. That's just part of the ecosystem too. It's crazy to stand in the way of that. So yeah, it's Creative Commons. Anybody can use it to make their own supplements and expansions and even different rule sets and different power sets and things like that if they want to, and sell them on Drive-Thru RPG. No problem with me. Just put an attribution in there saying it is based on Super Atomic, which is written by me, AJ Pickett, and Monolith Publishing. That's all. Okay, what else was I going to talk about? Oh, Canon. What is D&D Canon? This is another issue which has come up recently. I was talking with some of the original sort of D&D writers and things like that after the Mind Flayer video. And it's sort of raised the question of what exactly is D&D Canon? And who cares about these things? And what it is and what it isn't? First of all, it's a very nebulous thing. So because Dungeons & Dragons has crossed multiple editions and all the different editions have made changes to things and progressed things or deleted things or ignored things and rewritten things. And also the different writers have got different attitudes. For instance, Ed Greenwood, when he originally made the Forgotten Realms, he wanted to make it into multiverse, and then the powers that be said, no, we wanted it to be a standalone thing, which is completely opposite to what Wizards of the Coast were all about. So he had no intention of the Forgotten Realms ever being part of Spelljammer and that sort of stuff. So yeah, and Karatur and Mazdiker and those sort of things were tacked on to the Forgotten Realms. And the Forgotten Realms wiki, for example, is really fantastic, but it takes a default sort of multiversal attitude where things are folded into Dungeons and Dragons Forgotten Realms lore that were never really written in there by the original creators of the game setting. Others, like Eric Boyd, for instance, is very interested in expanding the game lore. He's currently working on a Spelljammer like realm space sort of thing. That will probably be, I don't know whether that's official or third party, probably third party. But anybody who read his treatise on Jurgle, the Lord of the End of Everything, boy, was that a mind-blowing document. So that's well worth picking up on Drive-Thru RPG. In fact, everything that Eric Boyd writes is fantastic. As far as I'm concerned, anything he writes is canon. And anything that Ed comments on about on Twitter and things is canon. But can you make and here's the crux of it, can you make a cohesive, fully referenced, no contradictions, version of the Forgotten Realms by sticking to published sources. No, you can't. It's impossible. It's a jigsaw puzzle where the pieces don't fit together. There's extra pieces, right? So when you're trying to assemble a vision of the Forgotten Realms, and what I'm doing in my videos is I'm assembling a vision of Forgotten Realms, it is always going to be different depending on the attitudes and preferences of the person who is putting them all together. There is no such thing as 100% authoritative, no doubt about it, no contradictions, canon Dungeons and Dragons. It does not exist. I should know. I've spent 10 years studying the damn thing. Okay? So, and also the people that generally are very nitpicky about those sort of things, they're the ones who have read the source books and know the material off by heart anyway. So what do they gain by coming in and saying, oh, that's not what I think? Well, it's like, you've got those books. Nobody's taking them away from you. They're not changing in any way. I'm not really misrepresenting anything. I'm just, I'm not Wizards of the Coast. I haven't signed any contracts or anything like that. I'm just a fan who's researching and trying to put it together as best I can and present my findings and my inspiration and my 2 cents to everybody else. And if that inspires everybody, that's fantastic. But I don't feel as bound to follow exactly everything that was written, just like none of the other authors do, just like none of the novel writers do, just like none of the module creators do, and certainly Wizards of the Coast, who have openly said anything before 5th edition is all bets are off. There's no such thing as canon as far as they're concerned. They'll just rewrite anything they want. So at least I'm trying to preserve and elevate, 30-year-old text from rare books, which are now $300 each, and just get them out to everyone, or get the encapsulating all the coolness of the Forgotten Realms and the depth and all of the nitty-gritty, and just try and get it out to as many people as possible. That's my mission. So is there such a thing as canon? No. Everybody's got their own canon. Hey, thanks, Shakescan. That's awesome. I'm not bad. You just drew me that way. Yeah, exactly. I think D&D, yeah, Stanchgate says, I think that like Doctor Who, the canon changes constantly. Yes, it does. Yeah, I love the D&D, the Forgotten Realms continents as well. But, don't go asking Ed about, some of them. Yeah. It might not be his cup of tea. Whereas other people are happy to just, wax lyrical about, Oriental adventures and Karatur and things like that. I think it's fantastic because you can play real good sort of wrestling demon hunter, and redeeming demons, for instance, is a strong thematic current in Asian mythology and things like that, folklore, particularly Taoist stories and mythology. So they go up to a demon and they subdue it by pinching it, for instance. And in 4th edition, they had the Divas, for instance, who are Rakshasas, who are also Divas. So they can become redeemed or fall to becoming Rakshasas, or redeem themselves and be reincarnated as Divas. And that got completely written out of 5th edition. So is that canon or not? It's published. Surely it must be true, or not? Yeah. So you try and reconcile that. Oh, no, I don't. I ignore everything past 2nd edition. Well, fantastic. How are you going to get new people into the game? If nothing that you say, if we say, oh, nothing that's currently being published is correct, how does that look to people who are just coming into the game? You're going to be playing by yourself very quickly. I'm doing well. It's quite warm in my house, but it's quite miserable outside. We've had some terrific weather. Don't forget, it's the middle of winter over here, and we're getting hit by atmospheric rivers and all sorts of nonsense. So people are getting flooded and stuff all over the place. Also, heart goes out to the people of Texas. We've seen what's going on with the weather over there and the flooding and stuff. So if you are affected, my thoughts are with you. Yeah, often canon is used as an excuse to just be a dick to people, bullying essentially, and that's not cool. much like anti AI sentiment is used to bully creatives these days, and it's not acceptable. Not acceptable. Creatives don't create the tools. We're not responsible for the morals or ethics of their creation. We're just doing our job and adapting to the current market because we've got to earn a living. So coming after us because we're using a tool, just because you disagree with the people who made the tool, go after the people who made the tool, not the artists and people who are using them. That's just low, really, and it's bullying. Coming into everything and saying, "Oh no," or you're like trying to like get out of the artists and stuff, and like, "Did you use AI in this? Where's the base file? What's your prompt?" and stuff like that. Piss off. None of your business. Did you enjoy it? Yes? Great. Thumbs up. Like the video. Subscribe if you like it. If you don't, see you later. It's not really going, don't go trying to influence what we do by bullying us and saying nasty things in the comments. That is shitty behavior, and you're targeting the wrong people. You're going after the artists. Aren't you supposed to be anti-AI because it's damaging artists? Why are you attacking artists? It makes no sense. Anyway, I know that you're all not that crowd of people. I'm speaking to the choir. So yeah, but that's my general attitude. Pickeroon's Guide to the Realms. Well, unfortunately, Ulruant's Guide to the Planes is absolutely fantastic. If you ever did a Guide to the Forgotten Realms, boy, that'd be the end of it. But yeah, I'm not the greatest person to do a Guide to the Realms because, have you ever heard me talking about the Harpers or the Zentarum or any of those factions or the Emerald Enclave? I very rarely mention that stuff in my my lore videos. So you can tell that I've got a bias, right? A preference that comes across in my work. So I've never made a video all about the Harpers, for instance. That's a major factor in like the D&D movie. So yeah. So already you can already see that my Forgotten Realms is a different take on it from other people. You prefer Pathfinder 2? Yeah. Boy, I hope Pathfinder 2 is around in a few years. Doesn't using AI make them less of an artist? No, because do you use Photoshop? How many people who are artists these days use digital tools? I use hand drawing. I draw stuff by hand. I'll like photocopy something and then use it like that way. Does that make me more of an artist because I do it more laboriously? Because I do it the hard way? Is somebody who uses Photoshop and uses masks and can just erase stuff and redo lines every few seconds, are they less of an artist because they're using a tool? It's a very, very fine line between tool, persecution, that sort of thing. So no, it's just a development of the technology. Are you less of a delivery driver because you're not carrying the rocks on your back? Are you going to stop using a wheel because it's unfair to mules? This is the thing. Do I not like the Harpers? I just don't generally involve them in my games. And yeah, I would make a video on the Harpers if, an annual subscriber on my fourth wall, who get to commission videos from me, said, okay, I want you to make a video on the Harpers. Then I'm on board. I'm going to make that video as best as I possibly can and try and exceed your expectations. But in and of myself, no, I'll be concentrating on monsters or the Feywild or, outer worldly stuff, that sort of thing. But the actual human factions and things don't tend to do very well on my channel. That's why I don't often talk. I've done some stuff on Chondathans and that particular ethnic group of the Forgotten Realms. I've talked about Thay and things like that. But people are more interested in gods, faiths and things that directly affect their player character. But player characters these days, when's the last time you made a character that was a member of the Harpers or had anything to do with the Harpers, or the Harpers were involved in the character's backstory? Or how often do the Harpers actually play a role in your actual games? So, yeah, is it something which is it's is it an active part of real gameplay? Is it actually inspirational and stuff, or is it just part of the literary history of the game? Last campaign? Well, there you go. There's always going to be somebody. Oh, that's fine. This is informal and direct. You know, you're talking with me directly. I don't mind whatever you say. I can handle it. I've been doing YouTube for a long time. I've got a skin like a rhino. Yeah, harpers are very important in novels. Yeah, but gameplay, mm, take it or leave it. Based on what I know about their lore, do I consider the harpers terrorists? Well, that's a very subjective thing to talk about because, I mean, according to the Lord's Alliance, they might be terrorists. You know, anybody who's involved in sort of shady dealings and things like that, the harpers definitely will keep a watch on them. So yeah, but they're not like a federal authority. They're more like the Texas Rangers or something like that. So they've got an authority and a respect amongst the people, but not necessarily the powers that be. Yet again, there's an aspect of the Harpers which, so they handle all the heraldry and titles and things like that as well. And there's a branch of the Harpers which are very involved in royal circles and lineage and that sort of thing as well. So they're like a subset of the Harpers, the super Harpers. Yeah, Picaroon's Complete Guide to the Realms. There, that would be more like it. Much like Volo, a lot of what Volo says, is a bit dodgy, so a lot of what I say will be a bit dodgy in some regards as well, because I'll be writing from the perspective of an alter ego which is in the realms. So, for instance, Picaroon travels mainly around the southern coast, Lurin and that, but he totally avoids like the jungles of Cholton, the those sort of things. Because why would he go down that peninsula anywhere past pretty much the Shah? He hasn't been there. He's been to Helrua, but other places. And he hasn't really been up in like Damara and Vasa, and he doesn't go to Cormier very often. Yeah, but he's been on the Sea of Fallen Stars and certainly travelled around that way, and travelled along the Sea of Swords and into the Shining Sea, or around the Wild Coast to get to Damara and Lurin and places like that. Meowdy from Texas. Yeah, Bolo's work is controversial, much like my work is controversial to some people. That's fine, but yeah, it always makes me cringe when people come to me like, and I'm the authority. Getting me to say something proves their point. Really, you can just go and ask any fan of the realms what their view is, and they've got just as much merit as mine. I'm just more informed. I've just read more. You know, but I'm not an official source of Dungeons and Dragons lore. I'm not bound by their rules. I'm not covered by any NDAs. I'm not worried about being blacklisted from ever publishing an official Dungeons and Dragons thing. I got my own game to do. Yeah, I'm just a fan, sharing what I love and inspiring people to play the game and run games. That's my main objective. Alkadim, yeah, I could certainly do some Alkadim videos. I've talked about the Alkadim. My Yak Folk video, for instance. Yeah, the Illithid video is a very different style. You can see I put a lot more work into it because I was working to exceed Garth's expectations, and it was a passionate project of mine that I really put a lot of thought into. In fact, it changed the way I think about things in a way, which is what should happen to a writer when they're really putting their effort into it. Your whole brain shifts gear, and yeah, it's almost like an immersive. You know how you can get immersed into a role playing game? Well, when you're writing a really intense, cerebral sort of thing like that, it literally changes the way you think for a while. You become like a method actor. And so, yeah, it can be weird to talk to me when I'm in the midst of writing something really heavy, because all of a sudden I'll break into, metaphysics and, that sort of thing. And then a week later, I'm back to normal again. And it's yeah, but so it's neurodivergent as hell. But that's my superpower, That's what writers do. Good writers, I hope. Yeah, there's no reason why you can't run a Faerun centric game with any like fantasy rule system. Like if you want to run a Mork Borg Faerun game, why not? If you want to run Shadow Dark in Faerun, why not? Yeah, you're not bound to playing just the Dungeons and Dragons rule set these days. You never really were. Yeah, teleport your brain to another plane through writing. Yeah, politics, yeah, intrigue games and things like that are kind of important. And yeah, they quite often involve politics and factions, blackmail, racketeering, coercion, keeping things secret, that sort of thing. Those are the meat and potatoes of intrigue based games. And some people really love it. They love it more than combat. They love it more than puzzles and traps and treasure. You know, they really love the intrigue side of things. And so they're quite happy to adventure inside a city with thieves guilds and mage guilds and all that sort of stuff. They just eat that stuff up. And the Forgotten Realms is fantastic because you have all these really interesting city locations that have all got a different vibe to them. Waterdeep is very different from Baldur's Gate. Baldur's Gate is totally different from Thay. Estegund, Kalimshan is very different. All of those different places are fantastic. And if you're running like a trading game where you get a ship, not only are you adventuring on the high seas and getting involved with, all the different monsters and things like that, but there's undersea civilizations like the Sea of Fallen Stars is the seas of Seros. Seros has got nations that are at war with each other and things like that. They've got thousands of years of history. It's fantastic. It's an adventure location under the waves, fully fleshed out and realized. Yeah, I really enjoyed making the intro for that, and it was, distinctly Call of Cthulhu, which somebody called me out on. It's just like, well, why don't you use something original? It's just like, where do you think the Mind Flayers came from? Dude, not only does it come off as really petty saying something like that, but it's like, it's also profoundly ignorant about where the Mind Flayers and stuff got their inspiration from. Like, where do you think Chthon and like all that sort of stuff comes from? Why do you think they got tentacles and look squiddy? It's like, it's directly from. They couldn't use Call of Cthulhu because of copyright and stuff, but they certainly had Cthulhu mythos in the first like deities and demigods type supplement that came out. So it's right there in the literary history. Goodness gracious. The sage has been in Karatur, yeah. Yeah, and of course the other news is that me and D&D Shorts are working together, collaborating together. So I'm helping him out with he's just released an absolutely fantastic, hilarious video. Anybody who's watched the History of the World animated video, which I'm sure everybody has at some point, I am Letard, fire the missiles. That fantastic video. So he's basically done the entire history of the Forgotten Realms in 11 minutes in that style, animated, and it's hilariously funny. But of course, it's doing numbers, and he's like, "Oh man, I've got to make more of this content." And he's gone, "Okay, I need a lore expert to like help me check out stuff." So he approached me, and I was like, "Absolutely, I'd be so happy to help out." Yeah, I'm very very happy to do that. That's what I do, man. It's easy for me to double check and say, have you thought about this, and this is how this works and things. Just saves him a lot of time. He can concentrate on the writing and the presentation. The other guy can do the animation and stuff and the editing. They don't have to worry about trolling through thousands of wiki pages and things like that. Whereas me, I can just like 20 seconds and it's done. So yeah, I'm very happy to help him out with that because that brings tons of people into the hobby. Funny, humorous, animated videos are absolute dynamite for getting people interested in the hobby. So if he's making content like that, I want to support him as much as possible because the rising tide floats all ships. If he does well, we all do well. So like, I keep saying to people, my motto is like apes together strong. Like, why would you ever work against any content creator? Why would you throw shade at anybody else who's in your hobby, like propping up your income? And yeah, so yeah, I'm definitely all about helping other content creators. Always have been. And yeah, him approaching me, I'm just like, yeah, totally on board. So we were doing that this morning, in the early hours. Because he's in England, I'm in New Zealand. We're on complete opposite sides of the globe. So it's summer and midday over there, and it's winter and midnight over here, which is hilarious. So yeah. Thanks, Donnie. What are the differences to really differentiate a god who was born a god versus a man who becomes a god. Also, AI is just a tool. I'm dumbfounded why so many people treat AI like it's already Skynet. That's because they're just being mean. It's tricky with the gods because all the gods are somewhat different. My interpretation of it, based on Eric Hale Boyd's book on talking about the spell weavers and their ritual of ascension and the creation of the outer planes in the first place, is that they're gods that are sort of born gods are emergent. So when the outer planes sort of popped into being, it's because the astral plane was kind of like it's morphic, right? So your mind can change things there, much like limbo. The Githzerai in limbo can stabilize reality around them by just concentrating on it. So their fortresses are literally matter assembled by their mind whilst a chaotic storm is going on around them. It helps them discipline their mind to defend themselves against the mind flayers. And the outer planes are quite often morphic, which means that the divine beings can just think something into being and the plane itself will make it, because it's kind of a conceptual realm. Because it was all derived originally from the realm of dreams. And in dreams, when your dreams shift and change according to they just change, and it's like that. Oh, that was always that way. It's weird how dreams work that way, where something can shift dramatically and you're just like, yep, that's totally normal, and just like the dream carries on. The outer planes are like that too. So legends, religions, mythology, and things like that manifest themselves in the outer planes. And same with the original gods. They manifested through people's beliefs and fears and things like that. So the first gods were really sort of primal, big ticket, major forces of particular things. And that's where the portfolios and stuff come from. They're also related to the immortal spheres, but the portfolios at their heart are the cause of belief, the cause of things that make minds work, make our beliefs work. So where does thunder come from? These big questions have got big gods. So wherever there's something unknown, where a bit of faith or imagination is involved, gods are definitely a part of it. Then you've got the mortals who become gods, and this is also part of the whole thing, the ascension of petitioners. Don't forget, so all the general vibe of it is that the positive energy plane is where the souls come from, and there are beings native to the positive energy plane who are all about guiding guiding nascent souls where they're supposed to go. So the souls come from somewhere, and they come from a realm of infinite energy. And so they make sure they go to the right places. Boop. And those souls have got potentially huge amounts of energy, because they can create and dream, and their thoughts and feelings and things make the outer realms what they are. And so gods want more of that power to make things real. They want more believers to believe in them so that they can be more solid and more dominant on their plane and make more changes in reality. So they get more power through belief. Even the immortals need at least one believer for them to ascend from mortal state to immortal state in Mystara and the original immortal rules. So mortals always have to have at least a believer somewhere to get godhood in the first place. It's part of the system. They need some sort of morphic lifeline, almost like a silver cord of belief that will allow them to ascend to godhood in the first place. Mortals who then go to the outer planes as petitioners after they've died, they just keep the core of what they are, their essence. They may forget everything that happened to them in their life, but they still stay the same sort of personality. Their same sort of integrity and ethics and things like that stay with them, even if they can't remember what they were or what they did. They're still the same person per se. And when they go to the outer plane, the outer plane is all about refining that alignment. So if you're a lawful good person and you go to Celestia, first of all, you start off relatively low and humble, and then you ascend through a series of trials and games and adventures that are sort of built to make you more lawful good, more and more lawful good. And the closer you get to pure lawful good, the higher you can get on the mountain. So by the time you're up the top, you're like the poster child of lawful good. And because you are so aligned with that plane, you are also perfectly aligned with the manifested deity of that plane, and you meld and become a part of it. So you're not just going there to join the god, you're going there to be the god. It's different in all the different planes, but that's a really good example of how it works, refining the soul until it becomes the perfect expression of that alignment. Because the alignment, the outer planes were originally set up by beings that arrived in the astral plane, and their mentality just went poof and manifested as all the different aspects of thought. So that's why. So I hope that explains your answer. But again, it's just my interpretation of things. It's not an authoritative 100% canon attitude, but that's just based on everything that I've read. So I make a lot of intuitive leaps and things like that I'm not often entirely clear about what's canon, what's written, and what's just sort of a leap between two things which are jigsaw pieces that don't fit together very well. Yeah, Sisyphus, perfect example. Yeah, Uthgard is a heroic figure, right, who gained worship by basically being so awesome in life that his legend propelled him to being a god. So that's where like demigods and semi-gods and scions and all that sort of thing, not scions as in psionic people, but scions of gods. The giants are a perfect example. Anam is a major god that was foreign to the Forgotten Realms that arrived from space. And then his children were gods, and then their children were demigods. And then the giants have all got a bit of divine blood in them. That's why every successive generation of giants live for less amounts of time, because their divine essence is lessening the more generations of them are born mortal. So there you go. Yeah. Yeah, chaos is a complete opposite of that. And a perfect example of that, which I talk about in the Mind Flayer videos, the Slard. So the Slard sort of escaped from the status quo and forged their own path through chaos. And the Slard are both native to the realm of Limbo, but they're also the Batraki, who did war with the Titans and got absolutely trounced, who became the Slard as well. They transformed themselves into Slard. So the Slard are both native and also a population of creator race that went there and became Slard. So they're chaotic in that regard too. Why are there hierarchies and types of demons? The types of demons are just identified demons. In actual fact, they're way more random than that. So for every Nalfeshni, there's 50 other demons you've never heard of. And the way that the demons work is they are, because the abyss is located in the elemental chaos, and the way that elementals work is imagine you're on the plane of rock, and it's solid, right? There's a few air pockets and stuff around, but it's solid rock, but it's full of elemental life. How? Well, they're traveling through it as a medium, much like fish travel through the sea. So imagine you've got a jellyfish, which is mostly water, and it's moving through the ocean. And this jellyfish is just like minding its own business. It's a relatively simple little life form, eats plankton and stuff. The plankton are also elemental life, and the jellyfish eats the plankton. But instead of digesting the plankton and turning it into basic elements, it just merges with the plankton. So the plankton becomes a symbiotic organism inside the jellyfish. And then the jellyfish is eaten by a larger jellyfish, which becomes slightly more advanced, slightly more complex. And the more and more of the jellyfish that it eats, the more robust, bigger, more powerful, and more intelligent it becomes. Demons operate in exactly the same way. So they are corrupted elemental life forms. That's why demonic energy is so pervasive, so insidious, and so dangerous, because it can infect normal elemental matter and turn it into evil stuff which has got demonic intelligence in it. When the demons get killed and go back to the plane of some random location in the abyss, they are stripped and ripped apart by this maelstrom of demon essences who are trying to reestablish and grasp and become individuals again. And so demons are drawn to destruction like moths to a flame because they're feeding on it and they're feeding on each other and they absorb each other's energy. And so demon lords are never, ever found by themselves. They are always the center of a massive maelstrom of destruction. It's quite often very organized and controlled because their ego is massive, because they're more intelligent and more powerful than all the others, and they have to keep all the other demons controlled because their way is the only way. And so they have different realms and things like that. But the demon lords are just represented by massive accumulations of captured souls of torn up demonic essence, essentially. So they're very much like the original primordials in that regard. So that's why demonic energy operates that way, and that's why elementals operate that way, and that's also why demons and elementals have got such different mentalities. They've got a very alien way of thinking. So demons feed on destruction. Yeah, it's very easy. Like the Hordlings, for example, which never get enough credit. If you go to Hades and stuff like that, the dominant population that you're going to see are Hordlings, and Hordlings are literally roll on the random table for features, legs, limbs, and powers. They are very, very diverse. But the Hordlings of Hades and the Hordlings of Carceria and the Hordlings of various other, the Abyss and various other planes are very different from each other because they're influenced by the alignment of that plane. So like the ones from Hades are, evil, depressing, soul-sucking, nasty. Yeah, demonic energy does affect Cambions and Tieflings. Less Tieflings, more Cambions. People get them mixed up quite often. So Cambions are, much more subjected to it. But of course, that's modified by the actual their player characters now, So again, don't at me. If you don't want to run a character like that, that's perfectly fine. As you say, as people say, just because you're a tiefling doesn't mean you're bad. Just because I look evil doesn't mean I am evil or have to be evil. But they are fighting an uphill battle against that. Like it's always easier for a tiefling to fall into evil, and Cambions doubly so. And that should be an aspect of the character that is the reason why you're playing a tiefling in the first place. Otherwise, are you doing it just for the looks, just for the sexy horns and the tail? Kind of lame, It's like, why would you be a ranger if you're not ranging? Why would you be a druid if you're not interested in talking with animals and protecting nature? Why would you be a wizard if you don't cast spells? It's like, play a tiefling. If you're going to play a tiefling, lean into the tiefling side of it. Halflings cooking on a riverboat is a lighter topic. Absolutely. I just made myself a delicious roast lamb biryani last night. It's the first time I've ever cooked a curry where you put the rice in and just sort of let it soak up the thing. Oh, absolutely delicious. I'd love to make cooking video content, but it's really not my vibe, and I think it would split my audience quite dramatically. So unfortunately, while I'd love to make cooking videos for you, they would have to be very much like, this is how you cook a mind flayer, and like have a squid with a sculpted head with the squid skin over it and actually chop the tentacles and fry them up in a pan on camera and then eat them and like, spicy. That would be good content, but it'd be a terrible cooking video. But like delicious in dungeon and like cook what you kill, yeah, I could lean into that. But yeah, it's not my skill set, and I would make it if somebody commissioned a video of that. Just saying. If you really want to see it, become an annual member and flick me a request, and I'll do it. I'll do it. But yeah, I'd have to get like equipment and all that sort of stuff, so it'd be quite a different departure from what I normally do. Could be a good April Fool's video. Yeah, very true. Yeah. Separate channels, yeah. Like somebody asked me, why don't you put the intro song, the intro chant from the Mind Flayer video onto Bandwagon, whatever, because or Spotify. The reason being is because I'm not a musician, and I don't want to be on a platform that competes with musicians. musicians and bands and stuff actually doing it for a living and earning money legitimately. I use AI. I don't want to step on their toes. That's where I draw the line, right? So yeah, I can't afford to hire a singer and a band and stuff and compose all that stuff. It would cost me thousands of dollars and take months of work for every video that I use a snippet of music for. But because of the architecture of the way that, because of the systems in place in YouTube, where third party groups can come in and claim a video's their entire revenue instantly. As soon as they put a claim out, your revenue is halted. And so they do that. They make sure that they capture as many videos as they can, and as soon as those videos are uploaded, because that's when the most money is earned on those videos, when the subscribers and stuff click on those videos. And then they try and claim that money on behalf of an artist. They don't even own the music themselves. And YouTube has never really addressed this or done anything about it. It's one of the primary ways that they let down their creative community and do not work for the creative community, which is insane because we're the ones that make them all their goddamn money. Anyway, it sucks. So through just like, through the pressure that puts on YouTubers, we're at risk of losing all of our revenue if we use any bit of music from like a known source, like even a 5-minute, like even like a 10-minute video, and it's got 5 seconds of something from the Lord of the Rings or something from the BBC or something like that. These guys will come in and claim it, and you lose the revenue over the video. So of course we're going to turn to AI to make music tracks and stuff to protect ourselves from that, so that they can't be claimed. And it only costs $10 a month to have an account on Suno, and they give you the commercial rights of everything that you make. So that solves that problem completely. If that situation changes, then we adapt and do what we do. But it's a no-brainer, really, for any content creator to use Suno to make music tracks and things like that. If we can do it legally, we will. It's just a no-brainer. So yeah. All fail the mighty glue stick. Anyway, so that's about time. I'm actually over an hour now. I've covered everything that I needed to cover. Oh, upcoming content. That's what I was going to cover as well. So the video that I'm working on right now and will be the next one released is kind of capitalizing on the Fantastic Four and the concept of Galactus and the Silver Surfer, which you will definitely pick up the vibe in this video. But in the Mind Flayer video, remember right at the start of it, I sort of mentioned the planet Glyph and an entity called Atropos, the world-born dead. Well, if you got a world-destroying, planet-sized bad guy which is coming towards your planet or is drifting through space and looking for targets, wouldn't it make sense that he's got some kind of a herald? So, yeah, that's where I come in. So I'm going to homebrew a concept. I'm not going to give you the stats for it because you might be playing any sort of other role-playing game. But I'll give you the concept and the history of the Herald of Atropos, or one of the Heralds of Atropos. That's the next video coming up. After that, I've got some other stuff to do. So I want to do a remaster of my Knoll video at some point, and also definitely want to do like Maztica. Maztica needs some love, and so a complete guide to Maztica is coming up. Also, like the Malatra Plateau. Is also another place which I don't think many people have really touched on. In fact, a lot of people don't even know what the Malatra Plateau is in the Forgotten Realms. So definitely talk about that sort of stuff as well. So interesting and exciting content coming up. I'm looking forward to making it for you. I'm definitely concentrating on the vibe and the pace and like having a timestamp menu and just like putting a lot of effort into the presentation of the videos and stuff, because I really want to concentrate on growing the channel and putting out some really good quality content. And yeah, particularly after the hack, I feel re-energized. So yeah, and you're definitely helping that. Absolutely. So thank you very much for everybody that took an interest in the Mind Flayer video and like shared it and made sure that it got a lot of views, and that boosted the metrics, which got a lot more attention on the channel. So that really helped out a lot. Thank you very much. And yeah. I'll hope to do more live streams weekly. It really depends on how many like live chats I like boosts and donations and stuff like that I get on the live streams as well. Those really help. But yeah, it's not required, as you know. But I certainly appreciate it. But I'm happy to do this. It's a really good way to connect with you guys. And as you know, I'm more about the people than the money anyway. Yeah, I do this because I love it. Thanks, Shadescan. Thank you very much. Yeah, I just do this because I love it. I would make YouTube videos for free, honestly, and that's why I'll never stop. Because it doesn't matter to me. Yeah, if everybody stops watching, then I'll stop making content. But as long as there's people watching my channel, watching my videos, I'll keep making them. You'll have to pry the keyboard from my cold, dead hands. Absolutely. I mean, look what happened in the hack. I didn't phase me okay, it phased me. That hurt. But it didn't stop me. It didn't slow me down. Thanks, Donnie. Thank you very much. Oh, that's awesome. Thank you very much. Yeah, it does make a huge difference. Okay. I will catch you again soon, everybody. Expect that Herald of Atropos video very soon. And yeah, awesome. How do I get off this ride? How do I stop this crazy thing? It's always like an awkward pause as I'm stopping the video. Okay. Thanks for watching, and I'll be back with more for you very soon. And if you are in the mood for a tasty beverage, go pick yourself up a deeply nerdy mug from my fourth wall link.